Buenos dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Orale, that's the jam. I could do it all day. Like a motherfucking smack addict. And as you can tell by this thumbnail right here, yes, indeedy, we're going to take it back. Oh, indeedy, we're going to take it way back, right? And about 35 years ago, and we're going to talk about the biggest riot in CYA history in Fred C. Nellis. Now, I know there's been a lot of other melees and riots and things that have happened over the years, man. And to that effect, I respect it. But I know, factual and actual, I myself was involved in what was the biggest riot in the California Youth Authority history. Okay, because of the number of individuals involved. There was a couple hundred individuals involved. Indubitably, man, a goddamn menudo style in a direct fashion. People were handling your business. They were going like this and like that and like that. And people were running and falling and yelling and pushing and cussing. I stepped back and I kept busting, right? But not to say that I didn't take some heavy shots, because everybody did that day. A lot of people left leaking. A lot of people left geeking. At the end of the days, man, only the strong survived, and it was what it was. But I'm about to take you, not only to tell you the story about the history of that, because I've kind of touched on the subject, but I want to take it all the way back and to give you the rundown of that exact day from the northern side of it, from our mentality of it, what went into it, why we kicked that one off, what was the whole get down with it. Okay, so I remember that day. I can't quite remember the month. You know, it was fucking 30 plus years ago, but I remember waking up that day, and prior to that day, the day before, a couple homeboys, the homeboy Shadow from Richmond and the homeboy Spanky from Gilas, had went to the school area, and they had been jumped pretty bad. Now, it was a constant battle in the school area in Fred C. Nellis. You have to understand that the Norteños were outnumbered 100 to 1. You know what I mean? There was like 20 of us on the main line, maybe 30 at this particular time. And they kept sending us to the school area, and there were several hundred Southsiders in the school area. And believe every day it would go down daily. And it wasn't like yard down. It was kind of just like make some, break them up, send some to the oil, come on right back for the next class. That's literally how it was. So I remember Spanky and Shadow, who were both on my compa, they were both on my building. We were on Kennedy at this time, had been jumped pretty severely. You know, they had been put in the infirmary that day. And I don't know what led up into that, other than them being Norteños and Sureños saying, oh my, got us a couple victims. And that's what it was. So I remember us feeling some type of way about that. And we had a junta that day. You know, we had a junta, about lunchtime in the school area. We came back, we got to our building, and we immediately went out to Yarda and had a junta. Now, we programmed right in the corner. You know, that was where we stood our ground, where the fence was to our back, where we could survey the yard. Now, you got to understand, each individual building had their own little yard. So there wasn't more than 80 people to a building, 70 something to be exact, right? So we're having our little junta. And I remember we were discussing it, like we were tired of going to the school area and getting jumped on. Now, we knew it was never going to stop. That was part of the game. That was part of functioning as a striving young Norteño. But at the same time, enough was enough. You know what I mean? SARS, our flag was going to be planted in that square. We're going to let people know that we could take the initiative to make the first move also. So I remember me, Spookio, who else was it? Spanky from Gilas, a couple other homeboys. We started to come up and formulate a plot, like maybe we should get off first, but maybe it should be a coordinated attack. Not necessarily just go and take flight in the classroom and such. Yeah, we did it. You know what I mean? Nah, we was going to go in there on some real life shit, some adult shit. This wasn't going to be no baby shark, it wasn't going to be no kid shit no more. We were going to elevate it and take it. We were going to level up on them, right? So we decided to disperse Huilas. And this is what we did. We were ahead of our time. Like I said, this was our only form of communication with the other buildings, because they kept us kind of isolated from each other besides the school area. And shit went down so quick, you never really got to chill with your homeboy or chop it up with them. There'd be new Norteños that would arrive. We didn't even know who they were, because like I said, they kept each building isolated. Whatever building you were across from, you kind of had a little bit more communication with them. You would see them when you came out on yard through the fence. But other than that, every building was its own entity. That's just how it was at Nelles. That's how they kept it, okay? But it didn't always pan out good for us. So anyways, we started to write Huilas, and we started to circulate Huilas to Cleveland, where the homeboy Chucky, Monchis, and a couple other homeboys were residing at that time. Cornejo from Hayward. We shot a Huila to Monroe, where the homeboy Bad Boy, Soldier Boy de Stockton, Boo from Stockton, Batman de Bison, these guys were over there at that time. I'm not sure if Batman had arrived yet, but I think he was. We started to circulate. You know, Shadow from Richmond, myself, we all agreed, Chucky from Sanho, that we would participate in the reindeer games. Oh yeah, we wouldn't let poor Rudolph join in any. Well, today we were. Rudolph can come too. It was going to go down. So the way the initial attack was going to be was me and Spookio took it upon ourselves that we were going to kick it off. We were going to kick it off in the middle of the quad area. So as you go through these metal detectors, Simon, metal detectors in a school, right? At that time in the 90s, it was going down. You know, it was a little crazy. So as you go through the metal detectors in a program office, you come out into a quad area. Now, if you look up these hills, there's several classrooms. Okay, these classrooms formulate a circle. The main classrooms where we wanted to hit was right up top in that last classroom, which was Mr. Reinhardt's class. It would be an easy pickings, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl class to hit because this vato was a baboso and he paid no attention to his students. Bang, bang, there's one. Directly across, there was an Asian teacher that pretty much was just there for the paycheck, you know, so he would miss no students if they came up short anyways. And then we decided to hit around the bend. There was a gang coordinator's class named Mr. Newman at the time. He was an Africano. He was a cool dude. He was halfway decent, man. He was there for the betterment of the people, meaning he wanted to help everyone to quit gangs and stuff. But we hadn't even started yet. You feel me? We were just barely beginning. We weren't trying to hear his bullshit, but we liked the little movies he showed us, and once in a while we got popcorn. So anyways, these were the 3 focal points of our attack, and then of course the quad area. The reason why we wanted to do it like this was because we wanted to get the focus on the quad area so that everybody would rush me and Spookio and a couple other homeboys, younger homeboys that were involved, thinking that this is where it was going down. Meanwhile, in these classrooms, homeboys would go in there with pieces and start hitting as much people as they could. So that's good. The wind was blowing. I know it doesn't sound like the greatest plan now, but when you're a kid and you feel like you're somebody, it sounded like we were Marines, that we were ready to go in there and handle our business. SEALs Team 6 in this motherfucker. And so I remember the day of, we had planned this 3 to 4 days prior. That way we could circulate our wheelhouse and make sure everybody was in tune. Everybody was up to par and everybody was ready and knew exactly what was going down. So of course, wheelhouse came flying back and everybody was in agreement. Like, okay, enough is enough. Let's go handle it. And so I remember that day of waking up that morning, going to the chow hall, and the Sureños not knowing, period, nothing that was going on. They're thinking it's another day, man. The sun is shining, LA sun, you know what I mean? Whittier Boulevard shit. We're going to go to breakfast. We're going to go to the fucking, to the square area, beat us up a couple busters. We're going to come back. We're going to get our box lunch. Menudo time. It's all good. This is what was going through their mentality. But we were on a different level this day. We were like, Charlie, we're going to take it back. We're going to turn it on them, right? So I remember me and Spooky, I told him, hey, are you ready? He said, shit, bro, I was born ready. And, you know, for those of you that don't know Spookio de Salas Casitas, that was his mentality ever since he was a youngster. You know, he had some type of hatred in his heart for the other side, the opposition. But at the same time, he was just a man on a mission about himself. You know, he was down. He was down for the Norte. So I remember that morning we go to chow, we come back, we get ready for school. And they held a couple homeboys back for some type of conferences or something. Man, I can't call it like an alcoholic. It was just it was Norteño luck. You know what I mean? We had, that was our luck if we had any, right? We just didn't have no luck. So now we're down a little bit more manpower, a few more soldados, but hey, it's too late. Everybody on the different buildings are with the program, so it's full go or nothing. You know, even if it's just me and Spookio with the bow and arrow, motherfucker, and a slingshot, we're going to go in there and handle our business. So of course I got me a little tang ready, you know, a little plastico pedazo. I'm made out of plastic. And Spooky was like, I don't need one of those. This is all I need. And I got a little special treat for a vato over there. Little did I know he had, I guess the previous day at school, he had put a big old boulder or a concrete piece of rock to the side where he knew what was at in the quad area. So he had kind of like did the Shawshank Redemption and dropped that motherfucker right there, ready for the next day. So it's marinating all night on ice. We get to the school area, we walk through these metal detectors. And it was a normal day in the school area, all eyes on us. Now you have to understand, being a Norteño at that time, when you would get into the school area, these vatos already knew who was going to beat you up that day or who was going to try. It wasn't like there was guaranteed a fight. It wasn't like you're going to go breeze through school one day and say, hey, orale, I learned what 10 plus 10 was. It was none of that ever going to happen. There was going to be a fight, guaranteed you were going to get involved in something. To what degree or something, I can't call it, but something was going down. It was a north-south issue. This is just how it was back in them days, and this is how it was for us. This is part of the struggle that I had to go through, you know? This is why when people tell me, oh, man, you ain't shit. Like, bro, you don't know what the type of shit that I went through. You can never, you know, how to survive a South Central. Orale, we were surviving in Southeast LA, homie. We were doing the best we could to the best of our capabilities. So when Bob Wilson's that fucking, we're just doing this, and Carl Holton, man, try to tell me, Stop it before I fucking slap the taste out your mouth. Anyways, look. So this day we walk in, right? We walk in, we're tripping, right? Right? We're gonna put it down, and we see our victim. Okay, now remember at this time we hadn't talked about exactly who we were gonna get because everybody's going everywhere in the square area. When the bell rings, we knew that we were gonna do it after first period. If we made it after first period, usually they would try to catch the Norteños around the bends. They wouldn't kick it off in classes. Rarely it happened like that. For the most part, they were trying to utilize and get as much as they could off before they got maced and got slammed to the concrete by the placas. So we were going to do it after first period. That's when everybody would come out. There'd be a lot of movement. Vatos were ready for some victimization of some Norteños. Wasn't going to happen today. And if it did, man, that was because Vato couldn't fight. But trip out. So we thought, okay, we're going to get it. There's an overhang where you go to the bend. There was like a library in the middle. You can go this way, to the right, or to the left. If you go to the left, that means you had a little a class right there. If you hit that bend on the right, you go over to see, you're going to have to hit the whole fucking bend, which was like a pathway around all these buildings where it was blind spots. Cops were not back there. I don't know why. To this day, I don't understand why they weren't back there. It kicked off time and time again around the bend, and still the lazy motherfuckers would not go back there. So they couldn't smell the donuts when they came back there. Anyways, other than windshields, we're right here, right? And we see the guy that Spooky wants to get, because Spooky said, hey, I'm going to handle it. I'm going to kick it off. So, I want to do it. He said, Charlie, I'm going to do it. All right, already, right? You only have to tell me once. And what he wanted to do was, there was a guy from Border Brothers. Now, when I say Border Brothers, I don't mean he was a paisa. He was from the barrio, the hood, Border Brothers out of Oakland. And I guess Spooky knew him from a previous institution from OH Close, whereas this dude used to run with the Norteños. He used to be cool. You know, he was a Border Brother, but he played it cool with the Norteños, you know, because the Norteños being the majority up north in OH Close. So now all of a sudden, this Vato had happened to come to Nelles, and now he's playing that same role. He's utilizing that dummy role, and he's fornicating, basically. He's fucking with the other side. Of course, not in real life, but what I'm saying is he's over there fraternizing and kicking back and trying to play them out of pocket, for which they didn't know. He was a tall-ass Vato, too. I remember from Border Brothers. Thought he was slick, homie. This day, he wasn't slick enough. So Spooky was like, him, Humps, I'm going to get off on him. And I remember he was talking to a Vato named Johnny Boy from Pomona 12th Street Sharkies. They were chilling, chopping it up. And there was a couple other Sureños that were talking, you know, they were in a little group. So I was like, Simon, I never liked Johnny Boy, man. Because I always was suspicious of him doing something, you know what I mean? So I gave with a little pico to me, allegedly. But anyways, you know, I caught up with him later. But he said, hey, I'm going to get off. And he picked up a big old clavo, a big old rock. And I said, oh, shit, it's about to really go down. We're about to catch a body around this motherfucker. All right, fuck it. Number 2, right? And I had my little thing, and I was ready. And I was, basically, he was going to go up, hit this guy in the face with the rock. And I was going to get to sticking and moving. Orale, you know what I mean? I was going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee like Muhammad, right? That's why I wore the shirt today. Orale, Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Those are cornrows. Orale, Nipsey. So I was like, okay, it's going to go down. And sure enough, bell rang. We came out. We spotted this victim, man. And I call him a victim because, I mean, what else can you call him this fateful day? You know, the Spencer. And I feel so bad nowadays thinking about it. Man, you know, I'm sure Excedrin couldn't help his headache. Orale, he needed 4 Advil that day. So anyways, we come down these little steps. Boom, we get right there. And there he is. Of course, Spooky goes, you ready? And I could see the homeboy Chucky from Sanjo's way on the other side of the classroom by the door ready, like, come on, so I can handle my business. There was homeboys, like I said, in certain classrooms that were going to go in there and start getting off where they were mad at. And that's how it went down. The coordinated attack went precisely as planned. Spooky, we walked up. They were kind of shocked to see us that close to them. And before they could say anything, Spooky hit the fool in the face with the rock. Sauce! He melted like a fucking pig's feet in menudo, right? He melted, and I was on Vatos, right? And every Vato I was trying to give it the pico, they were like, oh, ducking and dodging and falling. They were LA Dodgers that day. Like, fuck you, Holmes. Hey, Custer, on 55th, you're not going to get me. We're going to do it real nifty, right? They were out of the way. Of course, I ended up dropping the piece somewhere in the melee because it was going down everywhere. You could hear fucking alarms going off. Here, they fired the not concussion grenades. I don't think they were. They were like a smoke bomb, kind of a smoke canister, which prior to this day we had never really seen. This. They brought out the big canisters of the OC spray. They were hitting motherfuckers with it. It was going down everywhere. Of course, there was a lot of Sureños getting theirs because after the initial surprise, they were like, Orale, Sureños, what? Mount up. It was a cold, dark night. You know what I mean? They were handling their business. There was a lot of people getting fucked up that day. Okay? And it's something in the history of California Youth Authority. It's something in the history of Nellis that was kind of swept under the rug, because after it happened, you never really heard about it. You know, unless you were the one that participated in it. And of course, later on down the line, a few Vatos told war stories of it. The Vatos from the other side, the South, we're not going to talk about it too much, because that was the day that we actually took the initiative to make that first move. So in their history, it's a blemish, and they're like, fuck you, Vato. You know, you're fucking custers, right? They ain't going to do that. But I'm not going to say they took that L that day. Nobody took the L. It was just a whole bunch of young warriors, young soldados gangbanging. Some Vatos that were tired and fed up, man, of getting jumped on, getting oppressed, getting persecuted every day, that rose up, mounted up, man, and basically relived our history. You know, just like in the beginning when Vatos rose up against the oppression of however they felt, we did the same thing as youngsters. You know, not even knowing about that, not even laced in that history, but just knowing in ourselves that we were tired of fucking going and getting beat up or jumped on every single day. You know, it gets old after a while, and you have to make that first move. Now, in hindsight, was it good to be hurting our own brown race, our own brown people? Chale. You know, but in the 90s when gangbanging was very prevalent, we were all involved in that shit. It was what it was, cuz, you know what I mean? It was buzzing, cousin. You feel me? That's just what went down. So I remember getting maced and slammed to the ground. Me and Spooky were side by side because we were slanging them with the best of them. Vatos were coming like torpedo missiles. Scud missiles. Iraq. They were coming and boom, boom, boom. We were handling our business. You know, we weren't trying to go down because everyone knew the whole story in a melee. Once you go down, Julie Brown, you're going to stay there with a foot on your neck, right? They were going to press. We weren't going to do that, bro. So we were boom, boom, back to back. Psychic, bang, bang. Whistle while you work. Spooky. We were handling our business. And then, of course, they come, mace us, the placa slam us. That particular day, there was so much going on, they ran out of handcuffs, so they were throwing zip ties on us. Oh, you didn't know, right? They don't fuck. You know you don't fuck that right, cuz. You know you don't fuck that right, black. So they put these zip ties, and of course we're maced up. There's mace dripping all over, so we're very sweaty and mace combined and slippery, right? Now you got to understand too. People will be like, "But you were maced. How did you see?" Over so many times fighting, and it's a fact. You become accustomed to the mace is the word. You become, the mace absorbs into you. You don't even feel it like that anymore. It doesn't burn as much as it did the first time. Every time it gets a little bit less and less where you're able to adapt to it. We adapted to that shit. So we were immune to it, right? And everybody was, you know, it was like mace wasn't shit. You get maced, but you keep on going right there until they slammed you on your fucking head and cracked it open. Plain and simple and period. You know, this was gang banging, real shit. Real life, not this funny ass shit with I got a cuero and chivo. Nuh-uh, with the tight ass pants. We didn't do that. I mean, our pants were so baggy, like it was hard. Right? They were slipping, falling, but we got up. You feel me? Order the DMX. So, bam, they slam us. They put the zip ties on us. I looked at Spooky. You already know what time it is. He's looking at me like, oh, you didn't know? And boom, we slipped up out of the zip ties. And pobrecito, there was a vato from Maravilla, Wolfie, who just happened to be right across from me, who was talking the high power shit at that time. Hey, shout outs and respects to that vato because you know, he ended up, man, doubling back later on and handling his business, and it was back and forth. And he's just a good vato, man, respected. But that day, that's good, bang, bang. I jumped up, ran over, boom, hit him with the little kick. Nothing that I hadn't felt before. You know, people had done the same thing to me. Only this time the shoes were on the other feet, and it was reversed. And that's good, they were still toe. Boom, handled my business. Of course, they slammed us again, and then they took us all to the oil. Now, we ended up going to the oil. And we were expecting either to get a TAF or a Nixon program, which was basically like a shoe term. But this is what wasn't the placas what they were on. They were like, we're sending you back to the compa tomorrow. Oh shit, right? Because now we know the Sureños are like, oh, got you where we want you, and now we're gonna beat you, right? But of course, a couple of the vatos that I wouldn't say shot callers, but had a little weight there, actually got at me and Spankio and Shadow, and were like, you know, we understand. We understand that you vatos had to make that move. We understand where you're coming from. You know, they were more about their money and just chilling, whereas these youngsters were more on this gangbanging shit. You know, we were more on just self-preservation. Some of us were on that gang shit, like Spookio, but for the most part, we were just trying to get back up north so we can get a visita. You know what I mean, a little canteen. But they were like, we understand, but of course, man, there's gonna have to be a whole bunch of one-on-ones because certain vatos feel certain ways from different raflas because their homeboy got poked on or whatever. And that was it, man. You know, we handled business like that, like grown men as little kids, and it was what it was. But that was the biggest riot in Nelles history. And I remember all the Africanos were like, oh shit, right? They weren't really in tune with what was going on. We didn't give none of them the heads up.
we pretty much wanted to do this on our own. White boys, anyone will tell you, and us were pretty much non-existent. There was maybe 2 or 3 of them in Tesca. They were like, fuck that, right? They were all the teachers' aides, and they were kicking back right there. Everyone else, man, didn't get involved in the reindeer games. It was just a north-south issue, to which I wish it never was. Anyways, that's the story, man. I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about there going and hustling for your family. Unite the raza, man. Some of these old war stories I tell, I'm not telling you to promote it or glorify it. I'm telling you to, man, unify the people, to let the people know that a lot of this shit was frivolous. It shouldn't have never happened, but it did. It's part of our historia. Now it's time to move on from that bullshit and keep it pushing together as a brown people. Anyways, with that being said, man, if you like this story, you can hit that like, that thumbs up, one time for your mentality, like and subscribe. If not, you can hit that thumbs down, heavy as the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to push forward and bring YouTube and you the best content I possibly can. This is the gun. Bang, bang. And then it was going down like this. I was like, watch out. You know what I mean? Bang, bang.